close. We'll beat them with fundamentals,
Heart.
all that stuff.
Yeah, because defense can be a lot about heart too. If you want it more, you know, offense they like getting cheered on and you know just being front runners. It seems like.
Of course.
You know, it's fun.
Style or something.
Glamour. Yeah, but defense, yeah, it's gritty, hard.
Yeah. And like no matter how much fatigue you're feeling, when you have the ball, you find more energy.
Right.
Right. But can you do the opposite?
Right.
Can you allow the fundamentals from that stuff in terms of just training, not technique and program design, but just what it feels like, what it looks like, what it feels like to, in that case, squat on Monday and come back and vertical jump test on Wednesday and you jump higher. It's like, oh, okay, I see the feedback here. When I do that horrible thing on Monday, it was terrible, but I know on Wednesday I will be jumping higher. Get on top of that monument.
Yeah.
You got some bounce. But the carrot is there, and you're seeing, this is one of the things I love about training. There's a beautiful essay that Henry Rollins wrote years ago. Have you read it?
I haven't read it, but I know his quotes.
It's the essay is so good because he just perfectly encapsulated what strength training is for many of us, especially early in life, where the feedback is so direct.
Two options.
Yeah. So pushing through those things to just set up the infrastructure I needed to say, hey, I like human performance, and I really liked. Obviously, I very much connect with people who have a similar, I don't want to call it a struggle, but a similar situation like I, under-resourced maybe. I was with people that, this is before social media, and this is in sports. So actually, I'll back up. When I graduated college, I actually went down to Arizona, and I worked at a facility called Athlete Performance. This was the very first kind of all-in-one training center. And so you had your physical therapists, and your dietitians, and your chiropractors, and your strength conditioning coaches in one facility. So we probably had 150 professional athletes in that hall of fame. There was nothing grabbing my soul. But they cared. Some of them worked really super hard. Some of them didn't. But
I was curious about this. Do you think, who has a higher ceiling? A grinder with less talent who's had to outwork everybody to get where that, or somebody who's born with the talent and just gets by on talent? I guess there's different levels to everything. And well, it's probably like the perfect storm is all the talent and all the work.
That's how you get a LeBron. That's how you
and
get a
Jordan.
Yeah. Guys that sustain, guys that do things, and you're like, wow, girls, and you're like, wow, that's how you get flow girls. That's how you get people, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Those are world beaters that are going to have their names.
Like my model.
No question.
Yeah.
But most professional athletes, in terms of skill sports, golf, baseball, hockey, first left those people, that's the person I want to work with. I want to work with that bubble person. I want to work with the person who has one shot and one preseason to make an NFL roster. And they make it that year, they get to say the rest of their life they play in the NFL. Or they don't. Right? That one person is going to get to the Olympics one time. I don't think you know how this works. But I resonated the opposite. So I started working with people that were going to sell their soul basically for a dream and knowing the dollar. That's what got me initially. And for probably the first 7 to 8 years, that's pretty much all I did.
Who exemplified that? Who like was your first that just was a grinder and made it?
Very well.
Yeah.
But they got to the show.
Yeah.
To your point, I think probably one of my ones that I've talked about it a ton of times because it really does resonate. But when Helen won gold in Rio.
Yeah, what's her last name?
Helen Rules.
Yeah.
So she's first American to win gold in wrestling.
I follow her.
She's just such a beast.
Yeah.
She's such a in competition, out of competition. So a little story there with her going into Rio. The girl in her weight class. The stats aren't perfect here, but it's going to be so close. Fact check here. But the girl she was going to have to beat, I think it won 3 or 4 consecutive gold medals. I think she won 12 or 13 straight world championships. I don't think she would score on in 7 or 8 years. Whoa. So we knew, like, just getting.
Yeah, she was great.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And she got up after losing that point, and nothing had changed on her face. And I was like, oh shit.
She still believed.
I don't think think she believed. I don't think she ever even questioned in her mind she was gonna lose. It wasn't like, I don't think there was any self-talk in her head. Actually, I know there was no like, you can do this, you can do this. It was just like, it was almost like a fly hit arm, which is, it just didn't rest. But that to me, like, so her ability, her introspectiveness was very unique. Her ability to really understand what's going on in her own brain.
Yeah, freedom to perform at her best.
Freedom to perform, that's a great way to say it.
Without the worry of defeat, or if this doesn't work, what are people gonna think?
Yeah.
It was just like that freedom, just to, yeah.
Yeah, so her process was really good, and then her ability to be able to analyze afterwards. I think it's honest and genuine.
Yeah.
But it's also the fact that they're just more sensitive.
And not protecting an ego, probably. I don't know.
I don't think I've had necessarily a concern with that. Generally, the athletes I've been around are pretty good about being honest.
Yeah.
It's just they don't even register.
I see.
Right? It's sort of things like, hey, in this particular part of the competition, you did A, B, and C here. What was going through your head? And generally, being an athlete, I don't care what sport you're in. How you feeling today, champ? Good. You're not going to get anything.
Right. Yeah.
When you ask a pro that, most of the time you're going to get a time. I feel pretty good. A little dehydrated, but it's not lying. It's just like are actually paying attention to their body.
Yeah.
Where guys are just like, I don't know, it's a bunch of things.
I was curious when you were saying that, talking about tactics and so analytical and women thinking so much. Do you remember the fight that Rose had where they just...
Sometimes it's style, but sometimes it's more of you just happen to catch both people who's are on the wrong wavelength, right? So it's hard to sort of explain because typically in those fights, you're going a lot on instinct. And you're like going a lot on rhythm. And when it feels like just both records are scratching,
right?
Like you just like...
Yeah, they're both out of sync.
You're both out of sync. That's a great way to say it.
Yeah.
And so they're not, neither one of them scared.
Right.
You're not scared in there. If you hear Anderson, and Anderson actually, he's quite different too, but he said in that fight in his round, because I kind of asked him, like, basically his corner was like, what's going on? And he's like, I can't find a ring. He just couldn't find that's his way of saying, like, I can't find my rhythm, like I don't.
Yeah.
He just felt way out of sync, and it's not for lack of effort. Obviously, neither one of those dudes are scared.
No.
Any contact.
Pro's pro.
It's just, and it was Bryson DeChambeau and Rory McIlroy.
Right, Rory, yeah.
And, Rory missed a 2 or 3 foot putt on 16. And then Bryson missed one on 16 or 17. And then Rory missed one on 18. And so Bryson won.
Oh my.
And so Rory missed 2, 3-ish putts or so in the last 3 holes of a major. And if you don't know who that is, why that is kind of interesting is Rory was this
fighting. You know who looked to me, it seemed like the highest level fighting. I think he even lost this fight, but Charles Oliveira's last fight. I can't remember who it was now. Do you remember who he just fought?
Did he fight? Well, he fought Islam and lost, and then he fought Harmon.
Oh my! That was such high level. It seemed like it's so violent, but so incredible. But we're talking about people who are out of sync or out of rhythm. They seemed like both at the highest level.
Yeah.
It was incredible to watch.
You want to know the worst part about coaching boxers and fighters? Is you can do everything right for so long. Everything. And then sometimes you just have that happen and you're just like, whatever.
Yeah.
And then you're scratching, like you kill yourself inside to win a world championship in the UFC.
Yeah. Amazing.
You have to be so tough.
Yeah.
It's incredible. You have to have so much skill. And you have to be able to perform, to keep it cool, make decisions, have all this talent, and you just have to be brutally mentally tough. There's just no other way to get through that.
One of the most common questions I get is, how do I start hunting? My answer, gohunt.com. I actually really wish there was something like Go. Basic stuff you can buy at a big box store. If you find it in their shop, that means they've tested it on hunts and can guarantee it's good. If you haven't checked out Go Hunt, see for yourself how easy they make it to plan a hunt. You can use code CAM, that's C-A-M, when you sign up, and you'll get $50 to spend in their gear shop plus 10% off most items in their store. I put my body through a lot. I found Cass a great deal. They're offering you 30% off your first subscription order of Ketone IQ at ketone.com/cam. how'd you get involved with UFC and training fighters?
So when I finished with the NFL guys and I got to Memphis, so I'm working on a master's degree in human movement sciences. It was okay. This is kind of actually your first big fight. I think Gina fought Julie Kedzie on that card. And we walked into the MMA gym, and all we just hear is like thump, thump, thump. And I'm like, oh, what is going on? And the MMA gym was like below a karate studio or something. So we go downstairs, and it's just boom, boom. And I'm like, well, there must be a pro fighter here or something like that. And I go down, and I just see this dark-haired Italian girl. Just, I think that was the main event. So we're doing that. So I got to be there live in person for Gina's first fight, and she was one of the prelim fights, and she blew the fucking stadium apart.
I bet.
It exploded.
Nice.
And remember, this is on Instagram. There's none of these things, so it was just like, who was ferocious? She was ferocious. So that was incredible. So that same year, my friend Mike Bledsoe and Doug Larson found my little fight gym and was training and competing with those guys. And then those guys started competing. And as I mentioned, a bunch of them got on to the old Dream promotion in Japan.
Yeah.
Got on the Ultimate Fighter, so we're getting these people ready to go. And time to time, real UFC guys would come to town. Right, so they'd come in, stop by the gym, whatever, so I was just sort of getting acquainted with those people, helping them out. Important yet, even the best fighters didn't have any money. Only the top of the top, and they still didn't have that much money. So I was like, hey man, you guys want to fight? You want to do this cool stuff. Nobody cares about you. None of the best trainers in the world want to help you. No one's reaching out to you on Facebook and being like, can I help? But I was like, this is cool. The other thing about it was, when I started doing it myself, I very quickly realized and interacted with people. I'm like, oh, everything in my textbook sessions a week, they're used to seeing that per month.
Yeah.
Or whatever, right? Like, yeah. It's like, no way, you could do that, you could do that. And I'm like, huh, I see what's happening here. There's nothing, there's no science here, there's no physics, and everything in the textbooks is not lining up. So I'm like, man, this is really interesting. A bunch of people who are doing some things that are gonna be really hard, and no one cares about, and no one wants to help them. And now we can also break the mold.
What you're doing?
Word of mouth.
Okay.
It was always word of mouth.
Yeah.
Because there weren't that many gyms, there weren't that many people. Well, like one day we had, so I can't remember the exact story, but I had a girl in my class whose dad was a wrestling coach or something like this. And somebody who knew, I think, Mark Munoz. And so Mark was, for people to know, so those guys came up and they wanted, I think, to just do a VO2 max test. And I was like, okay, no problem. It takes us 30 minutes or something, right? So they get all their data, and then I went back and I analyzed all their data, and then I went and pulled every single paper that's ever been published on wrestlers, kickboxers, taekwondo, fighters, everything. I wrote them like a 95-page report.
Yeah, so just passion.
I just was like, man, I think this would really help, and I also knew if I send these guys their data, they're not going to obtain me.
Right.
They're going to do
Explain
that.
it. Yeah.
Like, it's going to help.
Yep.
So I just thought, like, if this was one of my fighters, what would I want? What would actually help them? I just wanted to help them. Just like, okay, great.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just get and Dan Henderson, I think. So he comes back from that original, this Portland group,
Yeah.
fighters up here and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So he was managing these guys this time. So he calls me, he's like, dude, who are you? What is this? Like, this is...
Yeah.
And then he just started being like every one of his guys, hey, can you help chill? Can you help, like, everybody, and just started doing all those things. I'm like, yeah. And then he and I formed a pretty good relationship. And so from there, once that got 5 or more years now, Brian and Tatiana Suarez get the bulk of my attention from the fightings. And they had a similar thing. So Brian came to me after the Max Holloway fight. So undefeated, obviously got
let up. Max never looked better, I don't think. As far as striking that day, that was crazy.
Got him pretty good.
But Brian's so tough. I can't believe how tough that guy is.
I lost a fight, not like the other side. He grew up in a real tough place.
Okay.
And so he's been through the things where
It makes or breaks you.
well, or like most people you grew up with aren't around.
I see.
So,
Yeah.
like real trauma, and well, I'll let Brian say more things if he ever chooses to, but
Mhm.
he's actually talking about doing his own show, like, too. Reminded me of yours,
Mhm.
but worse.
Stupid. Yeah.
He would, man,
Not well thought
I'm
out.
sorry. These are Brian's stories. I generally don't like telling fighters
Yeah.
about these stories, but I'll tell a few of these just because it's I wasn't there for the Max fight, but Henner and Brian told me these, and Mike told me these a bunch, where he didn't warm up for that fight.
Mhm.
He sat back and realized, I'm good enough to get here. He's good enough to win a world championship. But getting from almost a world championship to a world championship, you can't just make shit up. You can't wake up, figure out what you're gonna do for work out, and do it. You might do it.
He was this close to getting his bulk. Can you believe that?
I can't talk about that. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, we're
Yeah.
done here. Like, we're
Right.
done here, but
You think?
that's what I mean. How fucking tough is smoking also?
And I think strong, must be strong, tough, everything.
All
Because it took everything for him to escape that.
inch, right? An inch, a quarter inch,
Centimeter.
This is what I mean. Like, people don't understand how tough when you get to that level to win a world championship, or something, and they gave him Aldo in Brazil.
It's a tough matchup.
When nobody knows who you are, right? They're trying to set Aldo back up to go back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he put it on. It wasn't close. Like, he totally froze Aldo. Aldo couldn't even strike off in Brazil, right? And that's when I was like, dude, this guy. It doesn't matter the talent. This guy has something very special upstairs. And then being able to just watch his whole career with Islam, everybody. Correct me, none just dropped him immediately. Big favorite,
Mm-hmm.
way more talented, I thought, right?
Yeah.
Comes up, puts it down immediately. Like, all right, this is a quick night. This is like we expected. So that guy's ability to go, you're an underdog, nobody knows you, all the nerves, you got floored. It just doesn't matter to him, right? He just,
Crazy.
now you're back on it, you're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it makes sense now.
Okay.
But at that time, I was just like, I thought, oh, maybe just Chad had a bad night. But this guy's like really good.
It's a monster.